Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, folks, as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. So this show I'm dedicating to the process of selling a house in its entirety, from start to finish, a comprehensive overview of what it looks like to sell your house. So we've just started, or really just finished, the initial phase, which is having an agent come out to your house, interviewing agents, determining which one you want to go with. And so now we're at the point where it's time to start setting some things into motion, right? We've got home prep. We've got maybe a pre-listing home inspection, staging, photography, videography, marketing materials, all the things we need to do to get the property on the market. So I want to give some advice here because, again, this year we're going to have to put more time and attention into the presentation of the home than in years past, right? The market's a little softer now that interest rates are as high as they are. Demand is a little lower than it has been. And so now we need to do what we can to have our homes stand out rather than it's good enough. Now, there's going to be plenty of folks that think that way and do that. And will it be okay? Yes, sure. But if you're the type of person that wants to sell your home for the most money possible, then it's going to be a little bit more demanding of a process moving forward. So, and I know that there are plenty of people out there that need to sell their home because, look, the home's, it's gotten away from them a little bit, right? There's maintenance that needs to be done around the house, and it's compounded to the fact, or to the point where you just can't afford to do all the things that you need to do to live in a, essentially close to brand new home, right? There are plenty of folks that just don't have access to that kind of money. Maybe your roof needs to be replaced and your HVAC systems are 20 plus years old, and so is your water heater, and it just needs some big ticket items coming up here shortly. And so a lot of folks say, well, you know what, rather than pay for those things now, and we want to sell anyways, might as well just pass that off to the buyer. Well, the only challenge with that, of course, is that, especially because the market is weaker, buyers aren't just going to accept the fact that the roof and the HVAC and all these big ticket items that are, $10, $20, $30 plus $1,000 are going to need to be replaced too. And they're going to incorporate that into their offer amount and into negotiations, either before you're under contract, right? The initial negotiating phase, or they're going to do it after the fact, after they've had their home inspection done. So if you live in a home where, you've got some stuff going on that needs some repair, and your systems are older, and especially for those that live on a crawl space or elevated crawl space, we always see stuff underneath the house that the owners aren't even aware of. So it makes sense, in my opinion, if you have one of those types of homes, to get a pre-listing home inspection. Let's go ahead and identify what those things are that the buyer will likely ask for us to fix. We can either choose to fix them now, or we can get quotes for how much those things would cost to fix. And now we can share that information with the buyer so that we, as the seller, aren't being taken advantage of by either the buyer's opinion of how much it might cost to fix something, which is always higher than it typically is in relation to the seller. Or maybe the buyer has a contractor that comes out after the home's under contract when they do their home inspection, and they produce a quote. Well, guess what? A buyer's contractor that knows they're essentially going to use the quote as negotiations, they're not going to do the sellers any favors, right? They're going to charge as much as they can for those things, maybe inflate those numbers a little bit so that the buyer can get a better deal. You want to be in control of that process. That's a great way. It's a great tip for saving money in this process. And again, you should be working with an agent that has these types of contacts, that are reliable, that show up on time, that are cost effective, that are going to get your project done rather than finish 20% of it and then skip out of town for 2 weeks and then over time do bits and pieces. And then the next thing you know, you've got 4 months have elapsed and this project that could have gotten done in a week by someone else is still unfinished. I mean, anybody that's hired a contractor has likely had a version of that story. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. So I do highly suggest for those that live in a home that's a little bit older to get a pre-listing home inspection. Now, those can run a few $100, depends on the size of the home, age of the home, so on and so forth. But as a nice little incentive for listeners of this program, if you hire me as your real estate agent, we will pay for your pre-listing home inspection. So we will pay to have an inspector come out and identify those issues, and then we'll have our contractors quote how much it would cost to repair those things, and we can make a decision based on your budget whether we repair those things now or we just simply provide that information to the buyer so they can make an informed decision so that we're not taken advantage of by the buyer's contractor or the buyer's opinion or perception of how much that might cost. So after we do all these things to prep the home, now we're ready to put it on the market. If you've hired an agent that is really in tune with marketing, they've also been behind the scenes communicating with all the leads that they maintain to see if anyone might be interested in your property. Now, as a buyer, I'm sure you would agree that it's really nice when an agent calls you and says, hey, I've got something. It's not on the market yet, but check this out, right? Everybody loves that. Doesn't matter what it is. You want the inside scoop, right? Well, if an agent is really good at marketing and they actually do the work, right? They actually pick up the phone and make the phone calls. It creates this fantastic opportunity for you as a seller to hit the ground running or to potentially even sell your home before it lists for sale. But either way, let's just assume that now you're ready to hit the market. I like listing properties on Thursdays. Now, that's a random comment. Why would I say that? Well, in our specific MLS, when you list a property, it has this little tag next to it that says new listing, and it stays there for 3 days. So if you list your property on a Thursday, then you've got the new listing tag Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now, when do most people view properties? On the weekends. When do they typically plan their weekends? Unless you're like my wife, who, for whatever reason, we're always booked out weeks or months in advance, but that's also what happens when you have young kids. But that's when buyers are making their plans to go and see properties. So if you list it on a Thursday, boom, it shoots to the top of the list. You decrease effectively your days on market. Now, let's talk a little bit about the showing process. There's a few things that you need to know, and I'm going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and I'm going to walk you through how people view real estate, the process associated with it, and frankly, why that means anything to you. So we're going to take a quick break. But again, if you want to reach out to me, if you have some questions about the market, you're thinking of selling your home, I've mentioned a few incentives like our 2.4% listing commission or a free pre-listing home inspection, so on and so forth. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to take you through all of that. 843-800-0065. That's 843-800-0065. Or check us out online at listingsincharleston.com. So stick around, folks. I'll be right back.
Find Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on The Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.